Hi everyone! Today I want to talk about our plants not thriving but somehow surviving in winter. And if you have also noticed that your plants don't really grow, they stop growing, or actually they look pale, sometimes even sick in winter, it's not you. It's winter, and I want to basically discuss this with you. It will be also really great if you also add to this video in the comments about your experience, because I think this is a general knowledge and helps us to learn from each other. But I want to talk to you today about care in winter for our houseplants and what happens basically, because you were growing them the whole year and everything was fine, and then suddenly in winter that something is going on, something is wrong with them. So what is it? First of all, the routine that you had throughout the year, spring, summer and autumn, was perfectly working, right? Your plants were growing, were thriving. However, you notice that in winter they are a little bit struggling. Mine struggle too. You may think that this is, what a beautiful corner, a lot of lush and healthy plants. However, I also notice some decline. I will be very honest with you. Of course, now my plants grow in a very bright area. It's a winter garden, so we also have light coming from the top. It's not roof or ceiling blocking the light, but still, it's winter. And in the area where I live, we don't have that much sun. Starting from end of October, November, December, January and February, it's actually half of the year it's not that sunny. Of course, it's a struggle for our plants because we know that they like sunlight. They like indirect bright sunlight, and this means these are tropical plants. They like to be under the sunlight. Of course, I'm not talking about burning sun in the summer, but still a little bit of sun, especially in the winter months, is very beneficial for our plants. On the other side, of course, the growth slows down naturally a little bit in the cold months, because even though we may have the same temperature inside of our places at home, but plants feel that it's not the spring, it's not the summer, and the growth naturally slows down. This is totally fine. However, they don't need to struggle. Why they struggle is because, first of all, as already explained, we don't have that much sun, but also in winter seasons we have heating in our places, which makes it even worse because, yes, it's warm, but humidity is so low that these tropical plants actually suffer a lot. You can see some crispy tips on your plants, but in this case also we can have some fixes to help them survive throughout the winter months, and it is a humidifier. To me, it was a game changer because I really love it. I just turn it on in the morning while I'm making my coffee, and then I know that at least in this area of my plants, where my plants are, most of them are in this winter garden, at least here I can see on my humidifier that it's close to 50%, which is fine both for humans and for plants. I believe 40, 45, 50% of humidity is good both for plants but also for humans. Just make sure that you don't have 80% if you have a humidifier in your place, because 80 it may also not be so good for us humans. Then the next is, of course, watering. And again, watering is, I think, the most common problem for all of us, including myself. Even after growing houseplants for so many years, watering is the challenge number one. And I'm even thinking to maybe create a specific video or even a course about every little aspect of watering. So if you will be interested in it, please comment under this video so that I know it's an interesting topic for you, and I will create a video around that. But watering is challenging specifically in winter because the thing is that we are used to watering our plants in a specific way with a specific amount of water in the warmer months. However, this routine, this specific frequency and the amount of water that we used to have for our plants in the summer stop working in colder months, because again, the growth has slowed down of plants. They don't absorb that much water because they don't need that much water. They're not growing so fast now, and therefore the water stays in the pot, in the soil stays wet for a longer time, and this can also create some problems for our plants. Another problem is that in winter months, due to lack of sunlight, we try to move our plants closer to the windows to make sure that they can have as much sunlight as we can provide for them. However, we bring them very close to the window, and when the leaves touch the cold window glass, the glass of the window, this is also a problem because on one side the plant has this very hot environment coming from the heaters. On the other side they touch the cold glass, and this is of course imbalance that plants struggle with. So even though we want to bring them closer to the window, but try to make sure that they don't really touch the glass. And I see that my actually ficus lyrata is touching the glass with just one leaf, but I don't have freezing temperatures yet, so for now it's fine. But I need to make sure if it's really cold, if the temperatures drop, and if it's of course minus degrees, then of course touching the glass can harm at least the leaves on that side. Another thing is when we open the window to air out our places, that cold air coming to your plants, even if it's just 5 minutes. If your peace lily with these tiny thin leaves is sitting right in front of the window and that cold air just directly comes to the plant, this can also damage the plant. You will not notice it the same day, but within a week you will see the leaves are drooping, the leaves are turning yellow, and you may wonder what has happened. But that was that 5 minutes that you opened the window and the cold air came to your plants. That was actually a little bit damaging your plants. So just to summarize it, just a quick checklist what you can do to make sure that your plants actually continue thriving in winter and not really surviving and struggling for a couple of months. Basically improve their conditions in winter, making them closer to tropical conditions again. And what this means is that you will need to reduce watering a little bit, use a humidifier to increase the humidity of the air, put your plants away from the heating. Now you see behind me there is a huge heater. Guess what? We don't turn it on. Yes, we don't, because this will be so damaging to my plants if this huge heater is basically creates this very hot and dry air for my plants. So the heater is off here and the humidifier is on right there between my plants. Also, put your plants closer to the window to help them get as much light as possible. However, make sure that they don't touch the glass. And if you can, of course, don't let the cold air come to your plants and damage them. If you just do these basic things, I think and I hope that this will already be very helpful. This is how I do with my plants. I've learned it the hard way. It was so frustrating to see that suddenly in winter I lose half of my plants, and in spring I need to start growing them again, buying them again, swapping them with others to just introduce again the plants that I like, and I didn't know what was going on. In every winter I would lose half of my plants. So I hope these tips are helpful for you, and don't forget that actually some plants can lose their leaves naturally in winter. It's also a protection mechanism for plants. They drop their leaves naturally. For example, lemon. It also needs to stay in these months, in this period of time, also in a colder area rather than normal warm temperatures. So they would lose their leaves naturally to go through the winter, and it's totally fine. Don't be afraid of it. Just learn about the plants, what kind of plant it is. Is it even possible that they drop the leaves, that they really lose all their leaves until spring? Because lemon is one of the trees, one of the plants that loves to do it. It drops the leaves in winter. You can just have just the branches, and don't worry, don't water the plant too much, at least actually not as often as you were watering, because the plant is sleeping, it's dormant, and it will start growing again in the spring. If you have any questions, any comments, please share also your experience, how you take care of your plants in winter, because I think we can all learn from each other, and it's so interesting to know what are your tricks and tips that can help us go with our plants through the winter months, because we need to somehow go without warm and sun for a couple of months too. Stay passionate about plants, and I will see you in the next one.